Okay, welcome back. Today I'm joined by Attorney Matthew Underwood, who operates Underwood Legal LLC, a boutique estate planning and elder law attorney in Madison, Wisconsin. So Matt, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and I'm happy that I'm in the warm Caribbean here while everyone else is doing the coronavirus thing at home.
Exactly, it's lovely to be here in the sunshine. So today we're going to jump right into our first question, which is from Wisconsin, and the writer asks the following. I am disabled per Social Security. I own a home with my mother as tenants in common, and we want to sell it. She has been in a nursing home since April, on Medicaid since May, and plans to move back to California after the house is sold. Will this cause any problems with Medicaid? So Matt, there's a lot there. I'll hand it over to you. What do you think?
Yeah, so this is a good question, and we get a lot of people asking about how to protect assets from long-term care costs. How can we use other benefits programs out there like Medicaid to try to cover some of those long-term care costs? So this question really touches on a few of those issues. So whenever we're working with Medicaid or long-term care issues, I just can't caution clients enough when going through this. The laws are very nuanced, so we want to make sure that we're being very careful and really following all those laws, or could mean that some of that protection we thought we were getting can suddenly be removed or go away if we do the wrong thing. So I do recommend that anyone attempting to do this speak with a qualified elder law attorney. Kind of the basics of this question, though, we're really dealing with a house which is an exempt asset. And exempt just means that if you go to apply for Medicaid, Medicaid isn't going to consider that house to be one of your assets if it's your primary residence. So in this case, it looks like mom who's in a nursing home, she was able to keep her house and still qualify for Medicaid. And really to qualify for Medicaid, you need to have $2,000 or less. So, and what we can do with the house is we can say that's an exempt asset, so it won't count towards that $2,000 limit. Now, the problem's going to come into play when they attempt to sell the house, because what selling the house does is it converts that exempt asset, the house, into a non-exempt asset, which would be the cash. So it might mean that once that house gets sold, all of a sudden mom has too much cash if she's over that $2,000 limit. And now she's going to be disqualified. So she wouldn't be able to qualify for Medicaid services or reimbursement until she would go back under that $2,000 limit. So there's a number of ways to get around this if the goal is to sell the house because they're moving out of state or they don't need that residence anymore. We can do things like taking the proceeds from that sale of the house and putting them into a special type of trust or pooled trust. In Wisconsin, we have WISPAC trusts. So there's ways that we can sell that property, but then we must do something with that cash if we still want mom to qualify for Medicaid. Some other options, they could take that cash and purchase a prepaid funeral policy, purchase another house, purchase a vehicle. So we can take that cash from the house and purchase more exempt assets. That's one of the strategies we can use, or we can, use special type of trusts. But again, because this is such a specific area of the law, in that, we have to be really careful with whatever we're doing with Medicaid planning. So I really encourage anyone looking to do this to speak to a qualified elder law attorney.
Right. So Matt, you gave a lot of good options there of what they could do. And you and I are both just we're just reading this brief question and trying to sort of flesh out what we think is going on. And I see the same issue as you here. It looks to me like the mother probably qualified based on the other assets, like you were saying, the cash and such was below that 2000 level because she got onto Medicaid. And the house was an exempt asset, meaning they don't look at it basically for getting onto Medicaid. And but I think what they're anticipating doing here is what you and I don't know is how much the house is worth and if there's a mortgage and things like that. But immediately, I know I had a case like this where Medicaid eventually told the child they needed to list the house for sale. And then we were in this exact situation where if they sold the house, there was about 60,000 in equity in the house. That cash would go into mom's bank account, and every month you have to be below those levels, meaning that $2,000, and suddenly she would be not eligible for Medicaid for that month. And with the average cost of care now, private pay, I was just told by another attorney friend, it's between $8,000 to $9,000 a month. It's quite expensive, whereas before Medicaid was paying her bills. So what I think for the reader, what I'm cautioning you against is doing something like selling the house and getting all that cash without a plan for what to do with it. Would you say that's true, Matt?
Yeah, I think the key word there, Tom, is having a plan. So I think you don't want to go into this and say, well, let's list the house for sale, and then once the house is sold, we're going to deal with it then. I don't think that's the way to do it. I think you need to have a plan from the beginning. So if the house does get sold, we know what we're going to do with the proceeds from that house. So I think you're exactly right, Tom, is that, you need to have a plan before you do anything in this case.
Right, and I'll just add, I know from the case I dealt with, the timing on this is really critical, okay? So we were able to sell the house and put the money into one of those special trusts that Matt mentioned, like a WISPAC trust, but we had to do it all literally within the same month. So the same 30-day period, so that the mother didn't lose the Medicaid eligibility. So my suggestion is you talk to Matt or another elder law attorney right away and get the timing set up, because if you do find a buyer for that house, I would try to set the closing for the early part of a month, so you get the proceeds and still have time to do the other asset funding so your mom can stay qualified for Medicaid. So that's just a timing thing here, and even if you work with a lawyer, they can't change those dates for you. So
right.
Overall,
Yeah.
I think this is a great question. There's a lot going on here. Thank you, Matt, for unpacking it. And again, to the reader, I would talk to a qualified elder law attorney before you proceed with any of this. So thanks for joining us. And thank you, Matt, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Tom.